up as best you want to. Finding your PSIS where those are, you go midline, that's going to kind of be your S2 spot. You start palpating up, you kind of fall off the sacrum, and that's where you kind of start getting to your L5. Now as you're drawing these on here, don't palpate, draw, and then move, because that's going to move where your mark is, so it's no longer going to be where you want to be at. So I wiped off easy. So as you're doing it, appreciate the borders of it. Just kind of draw around your borders for your L5, for your L4, L3. Those aren't too bad boxes, actually. I'm proud of myself. All right. Okay. So it's kind of what you're looking to kind of draw in those areas. So when we do this, we're going to kind of be down that midline segment is more of what I'm concerned about than anything. So as I want to do my measurements from there. So now, if I look at his hand to get my measurements out there, so hold your hand up for me, just one from there. All right, so put your fingers together. So his hand's a little bit bigger than mine. So if I'm looking at measuring out, I'd have to cheat in just a little bit to get my HCJ and my bladder channels there. So, there it is. So what I'm gonna end up doing, instead of putting it right at midline, I'm gonna cheat my hand just over a little bit from what I saw. So I'd kind of end up drawing my HCJ down this way, in that area there. That's about where my HCJ would be. And I would do the same thing for the bladder channel. Instead of being jutting next to midline, I'd cover it up a little bit to cover that distance for his hand being a little bit bigger than mine. And it'd be something like that. So I'd end up being the HCJ and the bladder channel there. So one's gonna end up being straight P to A, the other one's gonna end up being lateral to medial. So I'll open up a couple 60s on that one, okay? So if I just pick a segment where I feel like he's having his issues at, that's usually where I'm gonna wanna go to. Sometimes it's too much, where you're gonna wanna go above and below, and that actually gets to the area. Do you have back pain or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, which side do you normally have it on?
Center and right.
Center and right? Okay. All right. Anything over in here?
It's right in that area. It's a little bit sore.
Okay. Anything over in here?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna need a few on both sides and see his responses, those kind of things. So we'll start up here, high. Now typically if I'm gonna needle, you can needle across the body if you want to. I usually want to needle down. That way I'm not gonna be going up and the needles are gonna be way where my hand is. So if I know I'm gonna hit a few spots in the lumbar spine, I'm gonna start high and work my way down. That way that I'm free and clear of the needles instead of working around needles. It makes it a lot harder. All right, so find a spot up nice and high for an HCJ. I go a half a chun lateral, straight P to A to his body, get a good tap in there, and just drive that needle straight in. And I'm down to bone there. And I felt like one little twitch, and that's about all I felt there. And sometimes you may get a few twitches. I'm not really after that, but sometimes you'll get it. One of the last patients I did this on actually bent the needle when I pulled it out. It's pretty impressive. Okay, so now if I want to do a bladder point, I wouldn't want to do it that same level. I'd want to go down a level, maybe down 2 levels, just depending on what I'm looking for. So if I want to do bladder point 2 levels down, again, I cover up a little bit more, 2 fingers, 1.5 chun. If I want to break the needle, forgot to mention for people who haven't taken it before, is a little bit of a glue to the side. I take it where I see the glue and I'm pushing the needle away from that side. And I'm holding that against the guide tube. That way I don't drop it. If I let it go, that needle drops out. Okay, it's charged at that point in time. It's a free needle. So I need to hold it there until I'm ready. Now once I do that, I let it go, I tap that needle in. A good tap to break that surface tissue tension. And then I'm taking it and driving it in, lateral to medial. How was that one? Not bad on that side either?
You got some me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. Good, so we got one person that was okay. I'm going a half a chun lateral. Achy there? A little bit?
It's okay.
And you'll notice in certain spots of the spine too, depending on the curvature. Maybe an HCJ, this one's not going to go as deep as this one. That just may be how much lordosis he has there too. So Sometimes you got to take that into account when you're actually doing some needling too, going into lordosis and coming out of lordosis versus at the apex of it. So again, if I go a little bit lower here for the bladder point, 1.5 chun lateral, angling 45 degrees lateral to medial, slightly inferior. Always have my palpation hand there, guiding the needle in. How was that? Achy there? No?
I don't know, it's hard to tell.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that one definitely is more sore than the other ones.
Okay.
Did you hit resistance?
There actually on that one there's more resistance with this one than the other one. So going through up here, I'll do one more. And see, this is why I don't really want to work around needles too much. It makes it a lot harder to kind of do a bladder point or anything. So if I want to go back up here, just as a demo, they go straight up to down. I wanted to press that guide tube to actually take some of the sensation of them being stuck with the needle. If I don't do that, they're more likely to feel a lot more of that needle prick in there. So good depression of the guide tube. Tap it in, great. So when you stick it, that needle should kind of stick relatively straight up. If it's kind of falling over, it means you're probably not putting enough force to it, and it's gonna be harder to break that superficial tension of the skin. So when I hold from here and just drive it straight in, I stick up my hands on the skin, again, to take some of that sensation away, and kind of drive it in there. And I actually feel some resistance here too. How's that feel?
I can't really feel anything.
Feel that one? Okay. So he didn't feel much with that one, but I just felt some resistance. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe he's got something there that's not really painful at all. Maybe he doesn't. So I felt like one little trigger point here, most resistance here, and he felt some soreness over there. Kind of right where he felt like he had some symptoms. But I always like to add the winding. That has a couple different effects. That's going to be actually mechanically loading the tissue, just like if you were doing some soft tissue or some deadlifting. I found out between two different segments. I kind of try and palpate and appreciate the angulation I'm going to need for that one. So if I find a little break between this segment and this segment, that little depression, that's where I'm going to go. They're kind of stacked on top of each other, so sometimes it can be a little hard. But you're just trying to find out, I feel a peak here, I feel a peak there, and I feel it kind of fall into like a little bit of a valley there. That's what I'm going to go at. So I'm using a 30, depressing it, and straight down.
So basically in between the spinous process.
In between the spinous processes. You can needle onto either inferior aspect or superior aspect as well. If you feel like it's more of an encephalopathy and you want to kind of do some packing on there to create some healing for some of those supraspinal ligaments, you can do that as well. Find a nice little depression right there. How's that feel there? Fine there? See, but I took a 30 and it took about 20 millimeters, maybe 25 millimeters of that needle in that area. So it just depends on what the patient in front of you that you're doing. It's not one that I commonly use, but it is there and it can be effective first, because that's going to get right in my way as far as where I want to actually add into my bladder and HGJ, especially if I have to cover up some parts of the midline segment there. Yeah. But then I'll do governing vessel towards the end. I typically don't have to do governing vessel though. All right, E-stem. Yeah. So you can do a number of different ways. If I had a couple different bladder channels, a couple different HEJ channels, I can hook up my bladders together. I can hook up my HEJs together, which is what a lot of people end up doing. But there's really no rules with some of this stuff. You can easily hook up an HEJ and a bladder point together. They say not to cross spine. I do it all the time. I don't think there's a big issue. We do it all the time with E-stem. I think it's one of those little scare tactics. I have not had any complications in 5 years of doing this. So typically I'll try and stay in the same channel. But like here, I don't have that, so I have no problem going up and down more.
If you had more, would you like skip a needle so that the current goes further?
You can. Typically, if I have more needles, I've just got to pick and choose which ones I want. That may include just spanning them all because I don't have enough channels for what I want to do if I have a smaller machine. It may mean that this one's the most aggressive needle, and I don't really want to stim that one. I'm getting a good response with just the needle itself. So that way I'll do above and below. So like you said, I get a little bit of electricity through that middle needle anyway, but I'm not being too aggressive with it.
Okay.
You got to suck it up, man. We got to get there. It doesn't really make much sense, and they're not going to let you needle them again. Yeah. So these I'll just put in 2 HEJ channels there, and I'll do the other one in governing vessel. close, it becomes tough. It becomes very tough for them to differentiate left side, middle, to right side. So typically what I end up doing is I'll always point and hold my finger where I want them to try and feel it at. In the back, you don't have the best 2-point discrimination anyway, so it's very challenging. But I'm gonna turn the one up in your left back right here, okay? Let me know when you feel a little tapping there.
Oh, I feel it.
Okay, ooh, you can see it too. All right. So now we're gonna go to the right side. I'm gonna feel that one.
I feel it.
Okay. All right, now we're going to the midline if you feel that one.
I think I feel it.
A little bit there.
It's hard to tell.
Very hard to tell like that.